Good evening. Tonight is a very special occasion. It's an opportunity to celebrate not only the tangible impacts that a quality education has on an individual, but the world that that individual engages with. It's a real honor to be speaking before you tonight. As I wrote this speech, I had the chance to take a step back and reflect. I was able to reflect on the role that this scholarship in particular had in prompting a process of personal development that allowed me to take pride in my first generation, low-income background. It wasn't an easy process. Tonight, I'm going to tell you how I got there. I remember the first time coming home after the fall semester of my freshman year. I had spent the prior semester trying to ground myself in a very unfamiliar environment. I had, in the process, carefully curated this image of myself that aligned with my perception of the typical Penn student. I started to change the way I dressed, mirroring a style that could only be described as East Coast prep. And I started to speak differently, picking up words that weren't spoken in my Guatemalan household. None of these traits were bad per se, but they weren't me. I was trying to reflect a pedigree background that I simply didn't have. I felt as if my upbringing didn't equip me with the skills needed to be successful here. I couldn't have been more wrong. When my mom picked me up at the airport, she gave me a hug that brought incommensurable warmth, but she looked at me with a sense of unfamiliarity. As the weeks passed by, she grew baffled at this outward performance, and this was a real wake-up call for me. I didn't want to keep brushing past these moments and lose myself as I tried to find my place at Penn. I didn't even realize that there was this reframed image of myself, or an alternative rather to this reframed image, until I joined Penn First. Penn First is a student group that seeks to increase access to and develop resources that directly address the needs of the first-generation low-income community. I joined in the beginning of my freshman year and was involved during half of my college career. It really set up the process of what was 4 years of a consistent effort at trying to understand and take pride in the strengths that I've derived from my first-generation low-income upbringing, while at the same time unlearning what I've internalized as my upbringing's detriments. Of course, this process was only possible because of the community that I built through Penn First. Being able to share in those common experiences was an empowering time for me. So, as I got to know more Figley students, I got more and more comfortable through disparate conversations. I learned that I wasn't the only one struggling to buy an appropriate winter coat. I wasn't the only one figuring out exactly what a summer internship was, and I wasn't the only one that inspired a sense of unfamiliarity upon returning home. When Penn First announced that they would open up applications to join their board, I really wanted to apply, but I was anxious. It would mean helping lead a community that I only just started to grow comfortable in. It would mean being unapologetic about my identity as a Figley student. Well, 1 hour before the deadline, I mustered up the courage to apply, and I was offered a board position. And I helped started the role of the professional development chair. I knew exactly how I wanted to leverage this new platform. I wanted to help strengthen the culture of support that I had been so lucky to experience during those prior months. I laid the groundwork for a professional development program. I worked to facilitate resume building workshops and a career trek here in New York where we were able to bring students to network and gain individualized access and attention to employers spanning multiple industries. One of the most valuable experiences and aspects of my work with Penn First were the conversations. It was truly an empowering experience to talk with my Figley peers and understand how the different experiences in our upbringing made us stronger, more resilient, and I'm so grateful to have partaken in that aspect of my student life. There's one conversation that I remember in particular. When we were on the megabus and we were heading to the career trek to New York, I had said that the punctuality my mom had instilled in me when we would take the bus together to her work is really what made me able to wrangle a bunch of college students to a 6 a.m. megabus stop. It was quite a task. But this led to a broader conversation on the roles that our parents had in our lives, the roles that our Figley upbringing had in making us who we are today. Words started being thrown out like resilience, ambition, humility, compassion. Of course, this isn't unique to the Figley community, But when you exist in a space where the skills derived from a formal education are so heavily emphasized, it's easy to forget how valuable the attributes you had prior to your arrival here are. These are traits that I've heavily relied on as I've pursued other experiences at Penn. I was able to work in Bangalore through the Center for the Advanced Study of India and work on designing interventions meant to address the malnutrition of migrant workers. This led to a deeper interest in development work that focuses on reducing urban malnutrition. Next year, I'll be returning to Oxford, where I studied for my junior year to pursue a Master of Science in Evidence-Based Social Intervention and Policy Evaluation. I hope to use this degree to engage in the policy reform and implementation process that seeks to prioritize reducing urban malnutrition in growing cities. So thank you, Mom and Dad, for really equipping me with the traits and the skills needed to take on new, exciting, and sometimes intimidating experiences. Thank you to my scholarship donor, Bill Levy, for being open to striking a friendship over a shared appreciation of art. And thank you to individuals like you who make a quality education like this possible. Thank you.